Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be painting up the Orc's Painboss, the good beast Snagga one. We're going to be using the Power Snappa variation though. So I was able to buy this model. This is the second model I've bought from GW in over a year. Everything else is from second-hand suppliers. And it's because the Warhammer Plus discount was going to run out in a few days, which they only gave me like a few days notice. I actually noticed it. It went into junk email. Good thing I found that. And yeah, boomy Warhammer Plus and all that. But with it, I decided to buy the Orc Painboss because the Black Templars were not out yet and the discount was ending, and so I picked this up for a pretty decent discount. Now I have assembled up to the point where we get in the way of painting. And so basically the backpack is two parts, and so like there's no way I would be able to paint it if it was all attached. So for ease, the backpack and its other piece is going to be separate, and the boss is, or the Painboss is entirely assembled apart from the backpack, and the grot is assembled as well. And then we're going to use Milliput. We're going to use this to, he has like these giant cracks along his shoulders and stuff. We're going to use this to fill them in. And then once we have it in, which I don't show because it's just a process of trying to get it to stick and flatten it. And we then take a wet paintbrush and we basically sand it smooth until it just blends in with the skin. And now we will just prime it with our regular general purpose gray car primer from Bright Touch. And with Pallid Witchflesh, Transparent Raw Sienna from Liquitex Ink, and White Scar White, we're going to do the undercoating. So we can start off with Pallid Witchflesh through an airbrush at like a 45-degree angle from up above down. And then we're going to use the Liquitex Transparent Raw Sienna from a 45-degree angle from the bottom, going up or from the sideways. It depends on the model. We just want to get it on the undersides. And then we're going to use White Scar White and Dry Brush and apply it all over the model to pick out the most raised areas, the points, the edges of whatever, the metals and stuff like that. And this will be a good undercoating for what we're going to do next. And now with Elysian Green, Auric Flesh, and Lamian Medium, we're going to do the skin for the creatures. So with Elysian Green, which is a more of a darker greenish, yellowish color, we're going to mix 1:1 with a little bit of water, and we're going to apply it all over the Painboss. And then with Auric Flesh, which is lighter, less yellow, we're going to do 1:1 with Lamian Medium and apply it on the grot. The Painboss has a slightly different skin color, and I want to make it, in the end it just makes it look like he has a different tone, like a bit more yellow in him. And with Baneblade Brown, Steel Legion Drab, and Gorthor Brown, we're going to paint a series of things. We're going to start off with Baneblade Brown, and we're going to paint the bandages on the part of the backpack as well as the mask that the grot has. And we watered them down enough so that the undercoating will show through and it will naturally highlight and stuff for us right here. It's very subtle and light, but you'll be able to see it. And with Steel Legion Drab, we're going to paint the pants that the Painboss has. And then with Gorthor Brown, we're going to apply this onto the fur that is on the boss, or Painboss. Alright, we're going to knock out a few details. With Troll Slayer Orange, Pallid Witchflesh, Corn Red, and Evil Sun Scarlet, we're going to paint various details. With Troll Slayer Orange watered down a bit, we're going to apply this to the squig that he has there for medicinal reasons. Unfortunately, my Troll Slayer Orange was a bit too diluted, so I had to apply 2 coats. And then with Pallid Witchflesh, I applied it onto the orc sign that is there. And then with Corn Red, I painted the teeth. And then with Evil Sun Scarlet, I highlighted the edges of those teeth. Alright, with Uriel Yellow and Abaddon Black, we're going to paint this like power cord thing that is on the backpack and on the Painboss. We'll start with Uriel Yellow. We're going to have to do about 2 coats of this because it's weak. And then we will use Abaddon Black and paint black stripes on this. And don't forget, there's also like the Painboss's eye has a cord as well, and it goes into one of the backpack pieces, but we're not going to bother with that one that's near the sack on the backpack because you can't see it after you attach it, so there's no point in painting it. And now with a Viridian Hue oil wash, very thick, more like a kind of a sludge in some ways. And then we're going to apply this all over the grot and the Painboss. And then with makeup sponges cut into small pieces for maximizing their use, we will lightly scrub it away with just the weight of the sponge. And now with magenta and titanium white, we will mix these oil paints together until they make a pinkish. You can make it a bit darker with more magenta stuff if you want more of a, I guess, a reddish scar tissue, but then we're going to apply this directly into all the cuts and scars scattered throughout. It's on the grot and it's on the Painboss, and there's like a cut in his hand. It's actually not a cut. What it basically is the line for putting his hand together. I didn't fill it with milliput, and I kept it there because I thought, you know what, that'll make a nice scar. And so apply this in and also apply it on his lips, and then with the makeup sponges lightly tap tap tap, and what it does is it softens the color into the surrounding area. And now with Winsor & Newton oil color Burnt Umber, we're going to create a wash, and we're going, well actually more of a sludge really, and we're going to apply it onto the backpack sack on the back, and then with a wash we're going to apply it onto his pants and stuff like that. And then once that is done and dried a bit, we will then take a makeup sponges and we will lightly, with the weight of the sponge, just clean that up. The sack is okay, it's not as good. The pants looks great. And then we will take the pure paint, slightly watered down or smoothed out, and then we'll paint it directly onto the orc sign for like scratches and stuff. Alright, with Corn Red, Evil Sun Scarlet, and Troll Slayer Orange, we are going to be painting the eyes and the eye lens. So with Corn Red, we're going to start off as the base layer for all the eyes and for the eye lens. But we will also take a very fine brush and we're going to paint Corn Red directly into all the scars, cuts, and wounding where there's the pink flesh. Don't forget the grot as well. Then we're going to take Evil Sun Scarlet. And as for the lens, we're going to paint the bottom left is our major direction of Evil Sun Scarlet, like 2/3 of the lens. Corn Red will be on the top right, left over, and we'll also use the Evil Sun Scarlet to fill out the eye of the orc and the grot. And then we will place a dot of Troll Slayer Orange in each of the eyes, and the bottom left third of the eye lens will have Troll Slayer Orange. Now Now with Baneblade Brown, Steel Legion Drab, and Pallid Witch Flesh, we're going to do the teeth and nails. Now one thing I forgot to mention is the oil paint, the brown burnt umber oil paint, was also painted into his mouth to make it up as a very dark base for later, and it's been overnight and it is dried. And so with Steel Legion Drab, we will apply this directly onto the teeth except for its deepest, darkest recesses. And then with Baneblade Brown, we will paint 90 to 95% of the teeth with this. And then we're going to do a 1-to-1 mix of Baneblade Brown and Pallid Witch Flesh and apply a dot of it on the very tips of each of the teeth, or a straight line on the larger teeth, the edges of the teeth. And all that we do to the teeth, we also do to his nails. And with Abaddon Black, we're going to just quickly paint up these power line cords that are everywhere. You could do this step towards the end, right before the final varnish, but I did it here because most of this project was me trying to figure out what to do next in proper order. And with AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, we airbrush it onto all the models. And now with Liquitex Acrylic Ink Carbon Black and Rune Fang Steel the Air, we're going to mix it sort of, not really 1-to-1-ish, but just until it got like dark enough. And I wanted a black metal base, and I applied this all over the metal. And it sort of naturally highlighted a little bit and looks pretty good. Now with Iron Hand Steel and Iron Breaker, we're going to finish off the metals. With Iron Hand Steel, we're going to take a springy brush and we're going to dry brush all over the metal, sort of edge brushing a little bit as well to focus on the edges and the folds of the metal. And then we're also going to take this Iron Hand Steel, I'm going to paint it directly onto the stitches that are on the grot. Once that is done, we're going to then take Iron Breaker and dry brush all over lightly, but a heavy dry brushing of this onto the claw part, because I figured we like scraped a lot. And now with Balthazar Gold and Brass Scorpion, I'm going to do the brass parts. With Balthazar Gold as the base layer, because it's a browner, and the Brass Scorpion is more of a redder. I apply this as a base layer. I place it on like the backpack grill. The grot also has one. The grot also has like these bolts. I'm going to use it to pick out those bolts on his torso leg and other things. I unfortunately forgot to get footage of me doing the Brass Scorpion parts. But essentially I just basically overlaid most of the Balthazar Gold with Brass Scorpion because it was just a more finer color in the end. I then assembled the entirety of the model, and with the Army Painter, which is anti-shine matte varnish, which is a bit of a glossy thing, I applied onto the eye lens to make it shine a little. One thing that's not noted is that I went back and because of the assembly there were some glue stuck out and stuff like that, and so I used it to fix a lot of small details. I went back and repainted something, basically just touch-ups here and there, and on the squig and stuff. And then with the oxide color, I didn't use the Riser Rust. I then use this and I go and I just apply it in random spots on the metal, the backpack, and such to add a bit more character and flavor. I didn't use the Riser Rust because in the end I couldn't really figure a good place for it. I didn't want to completely cover the metal that I've done because I really liked it, especially the claw. But this was me trying to add a little more color and flavor to the model, but I couldn't really figure out much else to do apart from the oxide on the brass and stuff. I couldn't think of much to do on the claw and other things like that. And yeah, once again I went back and just fixed a bunch of small details and things like that. But I couldn't figure out what else to do with the model. That's pretty much it. Alright, and I'm calling it done because I am now officially creatively bankrupt on ideas on what else to do with the model. It's I got nothing. I couldn't really do anything. So I finally ended up gluing them onto their bases, which are 3D printed, created by me, and just painted. I've done it before in other videos of the orcs, and so I wasn't going to bother with rehashing the same bit over and over. And so yeah, I went back, retouched a couple things like that squirrel and the squig and stuff like that. Just fixed up colors. I painted the grot's tire, which was just Black Templar's contrast paint over it, just something simple. There really wasn't much else. I mean, basically overall is I was creatively bankrupt and I had nothing else to do. I literally could not think of like, what else does this model need? What else could I do? And so I completely ran out of ideas. And so, I mean, the model was done a long time ago, essentially. You could consider it done. It has 3 colors, so it's tournament ready. But like, I got nothing. And so I'll call it here. Overall, it is an 8 out of 10. I couldn't have been a 9 or a 10 because I literally couldn't figure out like, what do I do next to take this to the next step? I don't got it. And so lots of nice little details here. The undercoating, the Lamian medium mixed with paint and stuff going over, and the oil colors really creates a very soft but colorful skin tones. And you can see the color flowing through his pants and stuff. So there's a lot of good detail brought by the oils. The metals look great. The carbon black Liquitex ink mixed with the Runefang steel air really did wonders. It really did a lot of good highlights and blending naturally. And then the dry brushing with a good springy brush really brought out more. But I just could not figure out like what else to do. So I was like, ran out of ideas, and so like I'm stuck. Well, I'm calling it done. And well, oh, that's it. Moving on to more stuff. So like the video if you like the video, share it if you want to share it, like it if you like the video, dislike it if you disliked it, and more to come. I'm just knocking out my whatchamacallit, what is that thing called? My pile of shame before the Custodes comes out. So see you then. Bye.